I have finished and put about 20 hours into Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy, and this game is not what I expected. This is the third Plague Tale title from Asobo Studios, and we're going back for this one as Legacy is a prequel that follows the standout side character Sophia from Plague Tale Requiem, and we're making some pretty significant changes with this one, but are they for the better or for worse? A Plague Tale: Innocence and Requiem both followed Amicia and her brother Hugo after a mysterious rat plague outbreak wipes out medieval France. In Requiem, we are introduced to Sophia, a smuggler that helps Amicia and Hugo throughout much of their journey, and we vaguely learn that she has quite the interesting past connection to this plague known as the Macula. Plague Tale Legacy is the exploration of that past connection. Legacy is set 15 years before the events of Requiem, and Sophia's family and her tribe have been obsessed with this fortune-longed lost treasure on Minotaur Island. After early events occur, Sophia has dedicated her life to discovering the secrets the island holds, and this is the setup for the adventures of A Plague Tale Legacy. Where this differs from the previous two games is in a few key areas. Obviously, Amicia and Hugo's story has been told, and Sophia is now the main protagonist. And let me just quell any worries right here off the bat. If you loved Amicia, who's voiced by Charlotte McBurney, and you're skeptical of having a Plague Tale game without her, that's understandable. She was amazing. McBurney wasn't nominated for Best Performance for no reason. But have no fear, Anna Dimitriou as Sophia is absolutely fantastic in Plague Tale Legacy. And yet again, if she isn't in the running for Best Performance come Game of the Year time, I will call blasphemy because she is that good.
Believe me.
Sophia is a bold, motivated fighter, not just with a sword, but also with her willpower. She's not going to give up, and that motivation is admirable until it's not, and she maybe goes a bit too far. Sophia can be cold and uncaring when she's got her mind set on what she thinks is right, yet she's also quick to admit when she's wrong in the midst of distress. She cares deeply about the people closest to her and will hold a deep grudge for the people that wrong her. She's a uniquely flawed individual, and I was ride or die with her by the end of this emotional journey. The cast of side characters are also great. Believable, well-written and acted characters that I cared about. Even a character that we spent very little time with made an impact in their short screen time. So if you enjoy great character performances like I do in games, movies, and TV shows, you're gonna love this. There really is only one character in the game that I felt was weak. They had a pretty significant role, and plot points, I just felt like the character was very uninspired in comparison to the rest of that great cast, but having one uninteresting character isn't a make or break issue here, at least for me. And despite character changes from the original two, I'm extremely happy to say that the storytelling prowess Asobo Studios has managed to maintain is still in top form here as well. If you played Innocence and Requiem, you know these guys are capable of telling emotionally compelling narratives, and they've done it again here. There's twists, there's turns, there's character motivations that shift and change. There's an overarching story that connects all three of these games. And now that I've finished Legacy, I'd say a prequel was 100% the correct decision, especially if you're as invested in these tales these games plague you with. I'm sorry, I'll see myself out. Really though, I would never spoil a narrative this deep, but just know if you are a fan of narrative-driven games with great all-around character performances, I think this is an absolute must-play. I will say if you haven't played the other two previous games though, you will struggle a bit to understand everything that happens here, but I watched this recap video right here before I played it just to brush up on the story, and it will get you perfectly up to speed even if you haven't played the previous two games. Main character shifts aren't the only audibles called in Legacy. However, while there was still combat in Innocence and Requiem, it was very minimal, with gameplay heavily focused on stealth and traversal with the occasional action set piece or small bit of combat. Amicia wasn't primarily a fighter, she was a survivor. Sophia, on the other hand, is absolutely about that life.
Work or you'll get no loot at all.
He's yours.
Cursed us! We were safe here!
I'm not gonna lie, the combat in this game is way better than I thought it was gonna be. I mean, it's not the greatest combat I've ever played or anything like that, but it works so well. It's not overly complicated like we're playing some Ninja Gaiden type or overly sweaty Souls-like or something, but it's also not simple or easy enough to cause you to monotonously breeze through each combat section. It's simple enough that X or square on your controller is gonna be your main attack that you string together for combos, then holding down X or square lets you perform a critical strike with Sophia's dagger that is always satisfying. You can also perform a kick mid-combat that will stagger enemies or use it to Spartan kick a foe to the endless depths below. She's even got a grappling hook to pull bad guys in close where you can finish them off with that critical strike. There's a pretty decent skill tree as well where you can unlock grapple throws and spin a guy around right into another guy and stagger both of them, or you can pick up dropped daggers or stagnant bottles and throw them at unsuspecting enemies. There's just enough going on here where it feels varied but not overwhelming. And of course, you can defensively choose to dodge or parry, and both of these can be upgraded where you can get a stronger parry that deals more stagger damage, or you can choose the parry upgrade that gives you a stronger critical strike if you successfully land that parry. You can't equip both of these at the same time though, but you can switch between them whenever you want, so it's a fun upgradable experimentation. Same thing with your dodge. I wish I unlocked this double spin dodge earlier in the game, as I didn't realize that she does this little swift knife slash as well that does a bit of damage, so it's defensively useful because you can double dodge, and offensively useful. Speaking of offense and defense, of course there's a dodge on defense and a block or parry. If you block, you can absorb 2 or 3 hits at a time until Sophia's guard is broken, or, and more importantly, you can block just before an attack lands and you'll parry that strike and stagger your enemy, leaving them vulnerable to a follow-up attack. If you don't string together your dodges and parries well enough, you'll easily get overwhelmed and meet your demise. Like I said, this whole combat flow works very well, and I overall enjoyed combat in this game more than I thought I was going to. You'll move through a set skill tree by finding resonance points scattered throughout the game world. This is a strictly linear experience, but you can explore around these environments, and if you're going to get all these upgrade points, you're definitely going to want to go off the beaten paths. You can acquire as many of these skill points as possible because they're legitimately useful and fun. Sophia is known as the Scorpion of the Sea for a reason, which is just, incredibly badass, and I had a blast with every combat encounter, and the game is spaced out, I think, pretty well between these combat sections, exploration sections, and puzzle sections, along with the occasional action set piece. It's pretty Uncharted Tomb Raider-esque, and it's got a fantastic sense of adventure that's there throughout. The Plague Tale series also has an air of horror about it, and while the rat plague isn't present in this adventure, something else most definitely is. As far as I had seen, the actual plague entity in this one hadn't been revealed in any of the promotional material, and I don't want to spoil it here. Just know that enemy soldiers are not the only threat that you'll face in this game, and there's definitely a few surprises that I wasn't ready for, and I'm sure will be a cool experience for you too. So if you are excited for this game, do your best to avoid spoilers, because like I said, there's definitely some unexpected stuff here that I think they did a great job with. The game world is also absolutely stunning. Not only are the character models and facial animations great, but this game's art direction is absolutely captivating. If you've watched any of my content before, you might know that I love me a good cinematic camera pan when a game's environment really grabs me, and the in-game environments in Plague Tale Legacy were grabbing me more than my Uncle Steve used to. I mean, just look at this. When I wasn't fighting or running for my life, stopping and taking in the beauty of this game was like an on-screen vacation to an actual mythical island. I loved just experiencing and taking in this breathtaking place, and it's one of those experiences that truly feels like a special escape from reality. A main core of Legacy is also puzzles. Now, this is either going to be very exciting for you or very off-putting. I traditionally, though, am not a huge puzzle guy with video games, but these are legitimately enjoyable puzzles throughout the game. The whole game is essentially moving through one giant puzzle island to get to the long-lost secrets, so you'll do a large myriad of different brain teasers, but they're almost always logical, and the game does a great job of giving you optional assists to help you figure these puzzles out if you get stumped. I felt like the puzzles were almost always enjoyable and legitimately fun to figure out, and that's coming again from someone that usually doesn't much like video game puzzles. There were a handful, though, that even once I figured them out, I felt like it didn't really make sense on how that was the conclusion that they wanted me to get to, but that only happened like 2 or 3 times in a game with a whole lot of puzzles. Overall, I legitimately cannot highlight a single major flaw this game has. Is Plague Tale Legacy a perfect game? No, it's still not a perfect game. Is it even the best game I've played this year? I'm honestly not so sure. I don't want to be like recency biased. I still think overall I enjoyed Resident Evil Requiem and 007 First Light a bit more than this, but so far, Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy is easily one of my top personal Game of the Year contenders. It's just consistently great throughout its around 20-hour runtime. The combat progression is steady. There's a near perfect balance of combat, exploration, puzzle solving, and story beats, and the game's story doesn't overstay its welcome, and while it's not the greatest story ever told, just like the previous 2 games, games in the series, Asobo has managed to weave a compelling narrative with a great cast of characters that you'll care about and a story that I think will stick with you. I think Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy is one of the best games 2026 has to offer.